If you're someone who works on your business or personal productivity, or just like to improve your overall workflow, then you most likely use Google Drive and Notion as applications to help with that process and to just help you get things done in a better way. But what if you could take things to the next level and actually automate that process and have them seamlessly integrate with each other based on certain repeating or common actions that you take within those applications? So that's why in this video, I want to show you 3 really cool ways that I'm now integrating Google Drive and Notion together, and how you can too, and how they can benefit your overall workflow. Now, they're pretty easy to do. It's not that complicated, but I want to show you the step-by-step process of how to integrate them together using a software called Make. And it's just going to help improve your overall productivity, especially using those 2 applications. So I'm just going to go to my laptop now and let's get straight into it. So this is the make.com home screen. Now, I've recently gotten onto this and I've been playing around a lot of different applications and integrations. And my 2 most commonly used apps are Notion and Google Drive, which is why I want to start with scenarios based on those applications. So I want to show you the 3 that I've now been able to learn and integrate with my workflow. So I've got 3 different ones, but we're going to start off with creating a new client page. Now, in my Notion database, I have a business database that kind of, I do all my client management through it, where I've got, client database, projects, tasks, and SOPs. Now, this specific make scenario, which you can see is currently turned on, is actually creating a new client page automatically every time a new Google Drive folder is created for a client. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I go to my clients here, I've just got some demo ones. This isn't my actual database, but you can see here I've got a couple of clients and you can see them in this view as well. So if I open this up as a full page, you can see I've got client 1 and client 2. Now, you can start a new one, and obviously every time I'm working with a new client or anything like that, this is when I open up a new window. However, what I do, because I also have a Google Drive folder for that client with all resources and essentially any information that they've given me that I need to be aware of when I'm working with them as well, any SOPs, resources, images, stuff like that, assets. So I always have a Google Drive folder for them, as well as this Notion database page. So what I've done is every time I create a new folder in this clients folder, this is when it will automatically create a new database item page in my Notion workflow and actually have that information ready for me. So let me show you how I do that. So I'm going to just replicate this one and do another one so you can see the step-by-step process. So we'll create a new scenario. And this is the steps that you have to take always when you're using Make. And then we're going to hit the plus icon, and just to make it easier, we will search. So we'll search Google Drive. Now you do have to integrate these with your account, which is very easy to do. You just sign in directly through Make that connects to Google Drive account, so that's not a problem there. Now the one that you want to select is actually Watch Folders. Now this says it triggers when a new folder is created or modified, which is exactly what we want to do. And that way we want Make to watch out for every time we create a new folder in a certain location. So I'm going to select that one. Now my Google Drive is already connected, but this is where you would connect it. You just hit add and it will take you straight to the logon page of your Google account. So what I want to do, leave it as by created time. Now this is where you choose an actual location. So all I have to do now is just select what folder I want to have this automation in. And this is where I'll go choose a folder, and I'm going to go to clients. So this way it's essentially saying I want this action to take place and this automation to trigger only when a new folder is created in this location. So this is why it's very important to select the right place in your Google Drive documents and folders to make sure that it will trigger in the right position. Now the limit, you can usually leave it unless you do have a high limit. So this is pretty much the maximum number of results to be worked with during one execution cycle. So obviously if you're creating more than 2 per execution, depending on how much time you've got before every single one. So if you have a look here, you can run it every 15 minutes, once a day, every hour. So if you've got more than 2 happening whenever it is running in the bottom left corner here, then obviously change that limit accordingly. I'm just going to leave it at 2 for now, and I'll just hit OK. All right, so that section for Google Drive is now done. Now we have to connect that part to now opening up and creating a database item in Notion. So we'll go to the plus icon, which is essentially now connecting the 2. I'm going to add another module, and I'm going to search up Notion, and just click on that one. Now, same thing, you have to connect your Notion and give permissions to that, make permissions to Notion, but it's a pretty straightforward process. So what you're selecting is create a database item. So this creates a new item in a database, which is exactly what I've got running at the moment in my business database for all my clients. So I'm going to select that. And then it's going to ask you to make sure you connect the right Notion account, which for me, I've got two. I've got my business and personal, so I'll leave it at that. Now you have to enter a database ID. Now, some of you may not know how to actually get that database ID, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Very straightforward process. All you have to do is go to your Notion page, and let's say I want this one in particular. So if I'm back to my home page, to the hub, if I go to this client page here, I just open it up as full page. Now these string of numbers and characters just after the Notion URL is the ID. So this one here just before the question mark. So I'll just copy that, go back to make database ID. I will paste that in and then search, okay. And you can see here it's come up showing SOPs, projects, tasks, and clients. Now I'm going to select clients and go OK. It's just refreshing. So when I open this up again, you can see here now I've got access to actually change the fields and tell Make what I want it to do once Google Drive creates a new folder. So all I'm going to need to do is go to the company area, and I'm going to select the name. So this is pretty much saying what the folder's name in Google Drive that you create is. That's what the name of this database item in Notion you want it to be called. So I'm going to select name. Once you've selected that, you can include more things as well. You can link other titles and names and things like that to it, but for this demonstration purposes, we're just going to do the name of the folder. So other than that, you can leave everything else as is. You don't have to include anything else, but essentially if you do, every time you click on a certain section, it's going to ask you what you would like to link from the Google Drive for it to show up in that specific text area. But for this example, we're just going to leave it as the company name, being the folder that you created in Google Drive. And we're going to go OK. So now, essentially, that's now connected, those two. And what we're going to do is you want to make sure, obviously, that this works the way that you are expecting and the way that you want it to work. So all you have to do now is actually run it. So what I'll do first is I'll create a test example and I'll open up a client. I'll do a new client folder. So I'm just going to do test make automation, pretend that's the client name, and create that. Okay, so now we have this folder. So essentially this will be, whenever I create a client folder, obviously it's going to be in this particular position here. So that's what I've called it, test make automation. So now in my Notion, you can see here I've got two, the client 1, client 2, which is the demo ones. A third one should create once I run this automation, based on the new folder we have just created. So let's make sure that this works the right way. So we just go to the bottom left corner here, go to run. I'll just move this. And you can see here it's loading. So that's run and that's run. So you can see they've got a little, they've turned green and had a little check mark next to them. So you can double check as well when you click on this icon, it shows you exactly what's been done. And same thing with Notion. Okay, so what I've just had to quickly do is I had to change the name of this folder to test clients because I had another one called clients and it was running on the run automation. It was running on the wrong automation. So I've just changed the name to test clients and then put the folder in there. So all I have to do now is just go into here, make sure that's been changed. So I've changed that from, so it's gone to clients and then into test clients. So I just quickly changed that and I'm going to run it again. And that's now been selected and checked off. So let's double check in Notion. So let's open this as a full page. And you can see here, test make automation has been automatically created. And obviously you can fill in the rest of the details or you can automate them as well. But you can see that this card has now been created based on this folder that we've set in Google Drive. So we ran this automation, it said that it successfully ran on both, and then you can go back to Notion and see that this test make automation card has been created and the name has been pulled from the folder name here. So that's how you would run the creating a new client item in a database in Notion and linking it to Google Drive. So you can see there, it's nice and straightforward as long as you're pretty much just putting the right rules in place and selecting it to run from the correct folder location. So you can see there I accidentally put the wrong client folder location because I had one already called clients. And as long as you can make sure that it all adds up and you're pulling the information from the right locations, then the automation will successfully run, and then you can set it to go live. So what I can do here, now that that's done, is essentially I can change when it's being run. So right now it's every 15 minutes. It's up to you how much you'd like to do it. I would usually do like once every day. So I'd go every day and I'd put a certain time. So let's just say, for example, in the evening, 7 p.m. So now, essentially, I'm going to say that let this run every day, once a day at 7 p.m. And anything that I've updated from before that will automatically run at that time. You can change that if you want to keep it at every 15 minutes or anything like that. You can do it according to what you prefer. Now let's go on to the second automation example that I want to show you, which is using that same Notion database, but instead it's adding a new SOP to my database whenever I've included a new resource or file in my Google Drive folder. So we're just going to go to create a new scenario again. And this time what we want to do instead is go to watch files in a folder, because what we want to do is in an SOP folder that we've got in Google Drive, we want to trigger when a file is created or modified in that selected folder. So I'm going to select that one there, and same thing, you select your account, leave that one as is, you can leave it as my drive, and then you select what specific folder you want it to run from. So here I've already got an SOP folder, so I'm just going to select that one. And I'm going to leave it. I don't have to do a second one because anything that is now created in that SOP folder, essentially you're now saying that you want this automation to start triggering. So I'm going to go OK. Now the second module that you need to attach this one to is again going to be Notion. So we're going to select that. Now what we want to do is same as the other one, we want to create a database item, because what we're doing is creating an item in a specific database like we did in the other example, except this time it's not going to be in the same database as I did before, which was the client one. Instead, it's going to be in the SOP one. So this is the database ID as well. So I'm going to copy that. So I'm going to go create a database item, and I'm going to paste the database ID in, let that do its search. And then you can see here, it's pulled up the SOP area, which is the right database. And then what we want to do for SOP, we want it to be the name of the file that we've dropped in Google Drive. So same thing as before, we're going to select name, leave that one as is, and just go OK. Now there is one more step to this process. The other one only had two. This one is going to have a third step, and it's going to be in Notion again. So we're going to add another Notion module, select that one. And what we're going to do is actually, so we're going to just select append the page content. Now what we want to put here, the page ID is going to be the database item ID, which what that is saying is the database that we've selected in this step, that's what we want this page ID to show. So that way it can be consistently changing every time you select or create a new SOP automation. If you select a specific page, it's going to repetitively add into that same one. But if you select database item ID, it will reflect based on the previous step's actual ID and what database you're pulling that from. So we're going to do database item ID there. Now this part is what we want to add for content. So we're going to do content objects, add item. Now the type, now this is up to you how you want to design it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select a heading 2. This is essentially what's going to show up in your SOP page in Notion. So I'm going to go heading 2. And then what we're going to do is go to add item in text. We're going to leave that one as text. And then the content you want to put in this text, which will be as a heading 2, I'm going to put it as click here for link, which essentially is saying, if they click here for that SOP, it will take you straight to the SOP link in that Google Drive folder. Then what you do is just paste the link here, which what we're going to do is we're going to pull it from the first Google Drive. So you can see here, when you select on link and you hover over these, you can see in the left, look at this here, you can see that it starts to kind of pulse. So if I go to link and then just hover here, so it's essentially telling you that this is related to that specific module. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to find the web view link. So we're going to select on the web view link, which is just this one here. There is two, I almost selected the wrong one. We're going to make sure it's this one here. So we're going to go web view link, go back, and essentially you don't need to do anything else after that. So what we've now told this module to do is append a page content, essentially adding content to an existing page in Notion, which was created on the previous step. You're then going to make it as a heading 2, which is in Notion a certain design a text look. We're going to leave it as a text. We're not going to change that. And what do you want the text to say? I'm going to select click here for link. That's what I've typed in for my content. You can put whatever it is. You can put SOP attached here or however you want to word that. And then you want it to be the web view link. So you want the content to take you straight to the Google Drive link and then view it straight on there. So we're going to click OK. So now we've just done all those 3 processes there. So we've created where we want to watch the files in a folder, which is going to be the SOP folder. We're going to open up, create a new database item, and then we're going to add to the page content for it to show up. So let's test this. I'm going to add a file in Google Drive, and then we're going to go from there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a test document in the SOP folder and just put test automation SOP document. You can do whatever you want to just test this out. All right, and we're going to make sure it's named that, yeah. And now what I'll do is I will make sure that's going to be saved in this folder. I'll just refresh that. Okay, cool. So now we've created a new document in the SOPs folder. So if this runs correctly, it's going to create a new database item in the SOPs folder. And then it's going to add the content to say click here for the SOP link. And then obviously attach the Google Drive link to it. So let's do a test run. And let's make sure that that is going to be a successful run. So that's now checked, that's checked, and that has been checked. So let's make sure it's actually done the right steps. Even though it has said it's completed, I like to check it myself to make sure it's right. So if I go back here, I'll just move. You can see here, test automation SOP document. If I open that up, perfect. You can see here it says click here for link, which is the text that we asked for it to be, to make sure it's written every time that this is created. From the click on this, it's going to open up my test automation SOP test document that I just created just a minute ago. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So now, every time you drag and drop or create a new file in this SOP folder, it's going to do exactly what you've just seen and create an SOP database item in your Notion database. And then you can obviously put in the link straight there. So if you do have a team that you're working with, or even just for yourself for reference, you can always go back to this SOP every time you create one or add a new one in your Google Drive folder. So you can see how useful these 2 examples are and how you can start to integrate them with your workflow. Now we've got the last example that I want to show you, which is more about content-based integration with Google Drive and Notion. So let's get into it. All right, so this next scenario that we're going to do is going to be more around if you're a content creator or if you want to start to create some content and have an integration between Google Drive and Notion. This will be a really good example that you can use. So we're going to do it the other way this time. Instead of going from Google Drive to Notion, we're going to actually start whenever we've created something in Notion and then add it to Google Drive. So a lot of the times, like for myself, whenever I'm creating content or planning a video idea, I start off in Notion and I write out my draft in there. But sometimes I want to include files or resources or research articles in the Google Drive folder or in the Google Drive location. So that way, if I want to use it for future reference or resources, I know I've got them there as well. So what we're going to do is create a new scenario, and we're going to start with Notion this time, just like I mentioned. We're going to click on that. Now what we're going to do is actually watch database items, because what we want to do is we want it to trigger when a database item is created or updated. So what I want to do is actually, whenever I've created a new video idea in my video base database, that's when I want this to start triggering. So that's how I want to structure this one. So I'm going to go watch database items. Now I need to include the database ID. Now I need to change my Notion because this is my personal Notion, not my business one. So make sure it's pulling it from the right information. Database ID, I'm going to copy that one, which is the one from that video base that I just showed you, and go OK. Let that load. Perfect. So you can see here videos. I'm going to click on that one and just go OK. Perfect. So that's now watching any changes that I made with this particular Notion page. So let's go back and go OK. Now what we need to do, the second thing we want to add is the Google Drive module. So we're going to go Google Drive, search for that one again, click on that. And then what we want to do is actually upload a file, because every time I create a new video idea, I want it to be uploaded as a file. And then I want to also convert it into a Google document page. So that way, every time I've got a new video idea and I've got it as a structure, or I've put the heading and the headline in, I can then add the resources into that specific file that has been created. And obviously, to make things a bit easier, you convert it into a Google Doc. So it can just be a lot more of an easier integration and usage in Google Drive. So we're going to upload file. And then we're going to put which folder you want it. So we'll go select from list. Now I've got a content folder ready for this example. So I'm going to select that. I want it anytime to be placed, in this content folder. Now the file name, what I want to do, so it's actually showing you all the IDs and subjects from that specific database. So what I want to actually do is go to video name, because whatever I've called that video idea, I want the file to be named that specific video name, so I know how to obviously distinguish them between other files. So we're going to go to text and content. So you can see here, it's essentially saying the video name's text content is what we want the file name to be called. Now for data, this doesn't it's not going to have a lot of data in it because you've just created that specific database item in Notion. So what I select for this is it's similar to the first one, except we're going to go text, plain text. So you can see here, it's just going to put in the plain text from that database item that you've created. Again, you just have to fill this in because it doesn't let you progress if you don't. So we don't have any other, obviously a lot of content in that specific Notion page just yet because it's just been a newly created idea, but we just put in this value here so to make sure you can create the right file in Google Drive. Now, one other step that we need to do in this process is go to show advanced settings. And what we want to do is convert the file and go yes. Now this allows you to convert the file that you're pulling from Notion into any of these file types. Now we want it to put into a Google Doc. If you do prefer a spreadsheet or presentation, or depending on what you're doing, obviously you can select that. But because for me, it's just going to be plain text and it's going to be just for me to draft out some ideas or put in some images and links, I want to do it as a Google Doc. So now we've created that, we're going to go OK. So essentially we're now saying, watch the specific database, which is this Notion database here. So anytime there's a new change or created item, we want to talk to Google Drive and upload a file that is named what the Notion page item is called. So let's create a quick Notion. Let me just move my face out of the way. I'm going to create a new video idea. Just call it test automation make example. So this is going to be my title. All right, so let's go back to our make integration and let's run this. So that's been run. It's still going, and the Google Drive has been done as well. So that's successfully run. The file should have been successfully uploaded. So let's make sure that that did run correctly. So if I go to content, perfect. You can see here, test automation make example has just been created. And if I open that up, obviously it's in a Google Doc and it's just got the text there as the heading. So essentially, yeah, you can now obviously add any resources or links or anything like that in a Google Doc that is consistent with the idea or the database item you've created in Notion. So those are 3 great examples of how I'm now integrating Google Drive and Notion with my workflow and improving my productivity and just having things a little bit more consistent and easier to talk to each other and to kind of have that nice flow between 2 applications that I use a lot and pretty much are my most used applications. So they're really useful tips there that you can integrate for your workflow as well. So if you are someone who uses Google Drive and Notion, have a look at these examples. You may find them useful. Play around with them. Obviously, you can cater them according to how you use Notion and Google Drive, but these are just good frameworks to understand how they work and how they can talk to each other. So hopefully you found that useful. I do have a link in the description to sign up to Make. It is an affiliate link, so I would appreciate it if you do want to sign up to Make. To use that link, it will help me and the channel as well. It's a really cool software that I've been able to recently get onto and start to play around with, as you've just seen in this video. There's endless capabilities. So I'm really looking forward to kind of getting a little bit more into it and seeing what else I can automate. So check out that link if you are interested in signing up to Make. There is a free option, and obviously you can sign up to a paid subscription if you want. But yeah, see what you can do, see what is capable with that. So hopefully you found these tips helpful. I know you'll be able to integrate them in your workflow. Now, if you want to check out a video of 3 applications that I feel you need as a business owner, check out this video here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.